to my friend. Ooh, that's beautiful. So here goes the house seat. It could be the best bug fix of the patch, but is it? Well, at least we're moving forward, right? All right, roadmap roundup. This is another important section. Finally, we got the 4.11 column. Tentative is a Q3 2026, perhaps toward the end of the year. Really depends. And for this, we have some really important update. Number one is Nix 1. So let's just look at this. Locations. Nix 1 is a coreless planet that orbits closest to the sun in the Nix system. Once considered impossible to terraform, Nix 1 has undergone a drastic transformation thanks to the new experimental technology developed by Genesis Terraforming, and now features a robust ecosphere capable of supporting a wide diversity of life. It's habitable and is closest to the sun. Perhaps it can be quite hot. And you can see through this photo, mountain ranges and clouds, and it's habitable. Wow, can't wait for Nix 1. Next one are Starchitect POIs. Starchitect. Have you guys heard about this? 2 years ago, CitizenCon, implementing new ground locations owned by various factions, offering a variety of procedurally generated combination of building compositions. This will support a wide variety of mission archetypes and gameplay loops. Been waiting for this for a long time because with Starchitect POIs, well, according to the
So, let's talk about location density. We've emulated nature as well as we can to make sure our planets are physically based and realistic, and our biomes are emergent. But it's time to start populating the verse, because where there's people, there are their lives and the structures they build. And what's even more important is that when we make these structures, that they use and they follow the same rules as our biomes, such as the jungles and the swamps. At the moment in the verse, we have these custom, beautifully made locations, such as Ghost Hollow, we've got our distribution centers, or even just some outposts. And these have all been handcrafted by our designers and artists to hit that benchmark. Going forward, this doesn't really scale with how we want to go forward with the game. This also means that this is your exploration and your findings. So when you go out there and explore with your Carrack or with your Corsair, is that whatever you find, you can share with your orgs or with your friends. As for that density, if you fly down to the planet, we want you to find something, let's say, every 100 clicks, but also improve the mission experience. So when you stay more on the planet, you're more immersed and you go from location to location. Just keep going. So going forward, we are modularizing all our existing locations and assets. We're basically making a library of buildings and layouts that we'll be using to no longer work directly on the planet. All these modules and assets can be iterated upon and tested right in the editor for all the designers and artists, to ensure fun gameplay and interactive sandbox activity, and also make sure all the mission stuff is there. Basically, we're building a toolkit. First and foremost, we've got our art style and branding. We've got things like Frontier for our settlements. We've got high-tech for emergency shelters, but also utilitarian, like our bunkers and distribution centers. The richer the data, the richer these locations will be. Secondly, they all have a function. We've got mining for our mining outposts, farming for the farmsteads, or just places where people live. And last but not least, the people as well, the faction and their loadouts. We've got lawful people like the new Citizens for Prosperity in Pyro, unlawful such as Xenofred, and sometimes not even no one. And the place needs to look a bit derelict. In different places, you'll find different people. So, let's start building thousands of locations. Yes, I said thousands. To avoid the same issue of working on directly in the planet, I'd like to introduce to you Starchitect. What Starchitect allows us to do is directly on a planetary scale scatter all these new libraries and modules and assets and no longer work directly on the planet. And it uses the same logical rule set as our emergent biomes. And it also gives us full control over the data that we set on these locations. So for our mining outpost, it wants to be near a resource. We can specify what this resource needs to be. But we can also give us suggestions where sometimes you'd find it here and sometimes you wouldn't. If the location has refineries, it might want to be near water to refine the resources. Then secondly, we can define what buildings should be there. So obviously we need mining buildings, houses for people to live as well, and even power buildings that we can leverage with the resource network. farms. Its rules, well, temperature. Not every plant can live in every temperature, but the same with soil type. And then we can query the seed map to determine what plants you would find there. What are the harvestables? As for the targets, again, farm buildings, obviously, power buildings, houses, but even animals such as our beloved quasi-grazers. And last but not least, derelict ships. We've got these all over the place currently. Sometimes you'd find the full remains of a javelin, and the other time you might just find the nose of a starfarer laying around. You don't just want to find an outpost completely on its own. We want to make sure it really feels like people have built their lives here. So to hit that bit of our benchmark, we make sure that locations are near each other and group them together. The effect it gives is a fully developed landscape with vistas and points of interest all over. And we group them together in what we like to call a cluster, like this one, that has 13 locations. Clustering means generating locations near other locations. For example, if you find a distribution center, I would find forward operating bases next to them. But if you go even further out, you'd find mining outposts to funnel those resources to the FOBs. Go out even further, you'd find caves around them, because that's where they might find some of the gems. And then we can even specify the data on a cluster level. All of the factions that live at this whole cluster, any mining outpost, that would be the same people, but also what commodities they sell, to find on what resource you'd find. We have our mining cluster. Again, we can define what rules we should have. Rules, well, near a resource, just like our mining outpost, but also it needs to be on a lawful planet. We can target on a planetary scale where they would need to be. They need protection. As for the targets, well, caves, mining outposts, but even trade posts. Now let's look at the other side of the spectrum, an unlawful cluster. They need to be far away from any other cluster, because they want to be isolated and do their evil deeds on their own. And also on an unlawful planet, such as somewhere in the Pyros system. Outlaw outposts, crash ships, because they would shoot them down, and also ruins from just places they just completely overrun. You'd find specific loadouts, and they'll be using weapons that you wouldn't find in any other legal system. And these weapons will be sold at the shops in these regions. Now that we have a cluster, let's go even bigger. Just like our locations, we can put clusters near other clusters, and we group them together, ranging between 10 to 15 locations each. And we group this into what we call a sector. Like this one, that has about 120 locations. However, on a planetary scale, we can define how many sectors we should have, with each their own data and persona. And every single one of these locations is now ready for the mission system to hook up and give you gameplay, and for you to find a bunch of places on your own. And just on this side of the planet, can you guess the number? We've got about 3,042 locations. And again, this means that Starchitect, we're just able to, on a planetary scale, just define how many locations we need, what you'd find there, and to just give that full identity.
Wow, amazing Starchitect. It's at our doorsteps. What they talked about 2 years ago. So for those of you who are new to Star Citizen, I hope this little TLDR may help you understand what exactly is Starchitect. If this is fully implemented in the verse is going to be very lively. An exploration gameplay. We don't need to do missions, simply explore those places for days and weeks. Really can't wait. If this is happening, then 4.11 might be bigger than we thought. Continue. Now, in terms of characters, we have the new heavy combat armor implementing a heavy combat armor in the Persistent universe. I wonder how this is going to be. It says heavy and combat armor. This will be different from the super heavy armor. So we'll see how this is going to be. And then is a customer customization update, eyebrows. And in terms of weapons, we have two new weapons. One is Kastaka Arms Verdict LMG. This looks like the Karna rifle, right? Implementing the Kastaka Arms Verdict LMG, a medium-range weapon that builds heat through sustained fire before unleashing devastating superheated plasma projectiles with its alternative fire mode. Oh wow, this is definitely a LMG version of the Karna rifle, but perhaps the same mechanics with the Referral LMG, because continuous firing builds up heat. Awesome. If it's LMG, how come the mag is that small? Maybe it's energy, because counter rifle is energy, right? You don't need a big energy battery to operate it. The next weapon is Kostaka Arms Helium Pistol, implementing the Helium Plasma Pistol, a high-velocity plasma weapon that creates hazardous impact zones, allowing operators to rapidly deploy multiple areas of denial across the battlefield. Oh my goodness, this is going to be fun! Similar to the plasma grenade, they're developing a plasma pistol for the purpose of area denial. Let's spam this pistol everywhere. My goodness, maybe we can ignite a fire on the ironclad with the plasma pistol. Definitely gonna try that, because you can ignite your entire ironclad with one single plasma grenade. Next one is ship and vehicles. We do have the Aegis Tiburon with unique base library and upgrades and components as a reward for completing a new addition to the variety of available. Well, in a word, it's a Wackalo Tiburon. Next, mission and events. Starchitect Mission Pack. We're going back to Starchitect again, implementing new sandbox missions across sprawling planetary locations designed to keep players planetside for longer with focus on more localized objectives. Oh, please keep us on planetside longer, much longer, for days and weeks, for exploration gameplay, for the whole verse to be so vitalized, filled with people, with different locations from different factions. Of course, will come with different loots and exploration options and missions. Awesome. All right, now going back to the core tech. Of course, the first is Genesis Starchitect. And Starchitect is I would say, a sub-branch of the Genesis program, implementing Starchitect, a new procedural world-building system that automatically scatters sectors, clusters, and locations across planetary bodies while constructing locations from modular tiles, as we saw earlier, using Genesis data to identify suitable placement for game objects. Starchitect introduces a new workflow for populating planets and building large-scale locations across an expanding universe. Next one, equally exciting, Genesis Planet Tech version 5. Implementing Planet version 5, a complete rework of how planets are built, populated, and rendered, introducing emergent biomes driven by realistic physical properties and scattering planets and rocks according to their natural behavior, reworking terrain shading across materials like sand, dirt, rock, and snow, and moving generations and spawning to the GPU to support denser environments with improved rendering performance. Yes, with Genesis coming to play, the performance is going to be a major concern. So I hope that we have built a robust technology to support such an awesome and ambitious project, Genesis.
Now, this isn't the only thing that will drive the color of the leaves. We're going to introduce the concept of seasons to the game. And this will mean our planets will evolve through the year, and we'll be able to shed leaves from trees and have the grass wither in winter.
familiar with any of our planets, we've taken off all the assets so you can see the issue. And now how it looks, you don't see those lines going at all. And one more. Cull at different levels of granularity, with bigger groups in the distance and individual assets up close. Just as a demonstration, this is the sort of density you can expect on microtech today, and in a second we'll flip over to what you can expect from the new upcoming tech. In a second we're going to turn on the culling groups debug so you can see. These are the groups that we create of those trees and of the terrain, and as we get closer, we shrink them so we're more intelligently rendering what we need without having to assess each tree individually, all the way down to the ground.
It's a nice day on the surface, but something's different. The clouds are moving, but they're not just moving, they're forming naturally and changing shape. They dissipate as they glide on the atmosphere based on wind data, stratus and cumulus alike. Now we start seeing the new cloud shading model come into play. We are seeing enhanced occlusion beneath the cover, emphasizing the sunbeams how it interact with the clouds, and seeing the light shafts peer through the layers. Now, as this is closing in, we can start to see the changes in visibility of the area. Light precipitation is starting. Previously, we authored static cloud shapes, but no longer. We didn't manually place a volume here. Its presence has been informed by Genesis data. Oh, and it's not just a cloud volume. It's a weather front. Now we're trying to see the wind picking up. Terrain and rocks are getting wet. Vegetation, grass, and the overall environment are responding to the weather. The system is changing the world around us. We can see puddles being formed dynamically in the dirt, properly responding to light, reflections, and rain droplets, making it's getting really ominous and loud in here. I can feel the danger. I think we should let this play out in the game.
Conditions have deteriorated. Severe items. We need to leave now. Get back here. Getting out of this suit now. Powering up and flying out. We'll need to switch to IFR. See you on the other side.